Yebenya na nti yese ebere ye man pini John Dramani Mahama wini Ghana kuna konkura ba ne pe no appoint eye ura Sammy Gyamfi ono na ye national communicator adema eye chinye amanyoko NDC na wa appoint eye Sammy Gyamfi as CEO edema eye gold company wo makukuru Ghana yimu ene obedi CEO na enche de na so eye gold bars no ebusiafo nyame enim no kura ni se 5 grams of gold bars kra ye nya bi wo. And then Papa your friend Kofi Bentil, and it's a Bibabu Abontin. Am I a Inspector General of Police, Mr. Christian Teteyono, and then I am a pound for Bay Dubi. I shall see investigation plus CIDC for me. Kofi Bentil in Semi Brigo Abontin will blow alarm Cassia Party after a year or Sammy Gyamfi a national communicator. Adema Yomako, Adema a year the National Democratic Congress. In Semi Brain of Kofi Bentil, I can add the source, Yan Sambreno, work with Tim Muchimo, High Casa TV. Subscribe and like and share. Memory Facebook me or the man as well.
Is to look out for the pitfalls where the problems could come from and highlight them so that they will be taken care of, and then hopefully we can avoid these problems. So it's not like we are against everything. Let me make the point clear. In every situation where a state entity is formed, not in Ghana alone, it's a basic tenet of policy analysis. There are basic things that drive the formation, the motives for it. And usually the motives are very good. Okay? But there are also assumptions that are made. And usually the assumptions are wrong. The motive for the gold board is good. In fact, I am one of the people who believes that we have done such a bad job with our gold over the last 150 years that we are better off as of now leaving it in the ground for our children to do better with it later on. That's a certain principled position. But the reason why we are saying so is that we don't seem to be doing well when it comes to gold. So something different must be done. To that extent, the motivation for the gold board is absolutely fantastic. That we will create some sort of entity that will maximize our benefit as a country from our gold resources. The next point that must be made is that every government since Kwame Nkrumah has had the same vision. And in fact, the last time this vision was expressed in some entity, it was in Japan. Somebody decided that we're going to have to sell all of it, take some money, and then go and do some floating of something on a stock exchange somewhere. There is always good intention, but then the devil is in the details of how it is done. Of course, you remember that we were very much against the Japan, myself and my colleagues. Now, in the case of gold board, we think it is an improvement where you have a situation where the state is trying to marshal resources to just focus on this resource and make the best out of it. But then the assumptions come in. Every time a state institution is formed, there's an assumption that it will be manned by perfect people. People who are not corrupt, supremely competent, okay, and they will always seek the national interest. There is almost never a situation where that happens. The next assumption is that it will create perfect systems that will execute everything according to book and things will work well. And then the third assumption is that it will operate in a perfect environment where you won't have normal problems and abnormal problems. But if you take environment, for instance, when you create an institution, there are people who immediately set out to study it and game it. And when you create those institutions where you concentrate too much power, you create an entity which now makes its officials rent seekers. The last example, the example I'll give you is when they created this Galamsey task force. I give it because it was on this news file. I was here with Inusa and co. And I said, the people who have been tasked to go and chase them will become the people who are committing the sins. And that is what happened. Now, here's our issue with gold board. Great idea and whatever it is. When you concentrate commercial activity plus regulatory activity plus all of that in a government institution with powers to interact with people and industry and others within that ecosystem. And that, if you look at Section 44, so we have some of the bills. I'll be looking for the actual one that was passed. Going down, there are They have tribunals, they have inspectors. Yes, the president appoints some of those people and all those things, but that is why I say the assumption is that we have perfect people working with perfect systems in a perfect environment. Gold is a spirit, I've told you.
But that's something you can't help.
No, you can't help it.
You're setting up an institution and it's people who populate it who do the job.
You can help it. That's why we have, for instance, in government separation of powers. That is why across this country you will see you have regulators, you have commercial actors.
If the people will be bad, they will be bad. If they will be corrupt, they will be corrupt.
No, that is where you don't have to make the assumption that you are going to have perfect people. You hedge against these things. Why separation of powers is there not because people are bad persons.
So in this gold board, where have they gone wrong, and what is the preemption you are making about the temptation to...
You don't have the time, so let me give you
the wrong things.
A few examples. Number one, today as we speak, gold is extremely hot. Like, gold is the price of gold has gone very high. There's a lot of money chasing gold. I can tell you, now here, markets, there is no need for government to put any state funds behind the buying of gold. And markets, every money we put as a government behind the buying of gold today, tomorrow we'll come back and we'll establish probes around it because they will be wasted and looted. You can arrange such that private funds will go. There are enough people trying to buy gold. All right? And then when you have this situation where, you know, in law, when you are a government and you are the sovereign, and you enter into commercial activity, you go to the level, gold board is almost operating at every level. Okay? For instance,
it's a one-stop shop.
That is the problem. So
that's the prescription we have loved. One-stop shop.
It's the wrong prescription. I'm saying
so you have control.
If you had the time, I'll show you where in this country we have departed from that and internationally it's wrong. So I'm saying, look, if you are the person buying the gold, and then you are the same person saying that the gold is 60% pure or 50% pure, after a while, you will buy the gold. When it's 90% pure, you say it's 60% pure because you are the one who determines it. Okay, when the commercial entity is also the regulating entity, that one is the one you are dealing with somebody, but you are the person policing the person. There are too many conflicts there. So we are saying, look, in our eagerness to try and stop Galamsey, to try and get, things out of gold and whatever it is, we may be making too many mistakes. Look, it's a good direction, but this model is problematic.
So do you agree that this model at least will stop the smuggling or minimize the smuggling so we can accumulate the gold to ourselves as a state and be the ones to now trade it and help to shore up our forex and work against the cedi falling in the ways that we normally don't like? Do you agree that this can achieve that?
No, nothing will stop smuggling except strict enforcement and punishment. Nobody anywhere has stopped smuggling of gold. Now, the problem I have...
If the government becomes